Okay, welcome to this section. This is actually a continuation of the previous section on creating a navigation bar. Okay, and we actually stopped at trying to look at what CSS stands for. Okay, CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet, and that is actually what gives beauty to your website. And like I said, this looks so skeletal. How am I going to take this and convert it to look like this? Okay, now basically that's the job of CSS. And so let's go back and okay, so what do I do? How do I use CSS? Now, in order to do that, there are different ways you can use CSS in your HTML. Okay, we might not focus on the many different ways about that in the course of this class. However, we will devote a class where we learn CSS from the very scratch. Okay, taking it bit by bit. But for the course of this class, to use CSS, all I need to do is create a different file. So I'm going to go back to my Explorer section and then click on the new file, and this time around I'm going to call it styles.css. Now again, one of the things that differentiates your files, your web files, are the file extension. Now you notice the moment I type a .css, you can see the icon. Now let me expand this so you see clearly. Let's do that again. You can see the icon, okay, the CSS free icon. Now and then a blank file is open up for me. Now even if I get to write codes in this file, nothing is going to happen. For instance, let's look at this. Maybe I just want to call my body element. Okay, I'm going to explain all of this and then open my curly bracket. Okay, then key in the type in the property I want to change. I want to change the background color. Okay, you can see with my Emmet abbreviation, I click background color. Let's say I want to make this blue. Okay, and then I click save. If I go back to my web page, you will discover nothing is happening. Nothing is happening. You can see. So what's the problem? Is it that CSS is not working? Of course it is. There's something you need to do in order to get CSS working within HTML. And what's that? I'm sure you're guessing. Okay, all you need to do is what? You need to link your CSS file in your index HTML file. Okay, for you to get CSS working, you need to link the file in your HTML. So I'm going to go back to my HTML, and this is where having all your files in a single folder comes in handy. Now this will save you a lot of stress going through a file path trying to locate where a particular file is. Okay, so that's why it is highly recommended that you create a folder, organize all your files within that folder. Now back to our HTML. How do I include my CSS file, which we name styles.css? Okay, I do that in the head or within the head tag. We achieve that within the head tag. So within the head tag, just before my title, okay, I'm gonna click what we call the link. This is the element that helps me to do that, the link. Again, once I type link, you can see my Emmet abbreviation. So what do you do with the Emmet abbreviation? Simply press tab. Now I want to say something here. Not all editors support Emmet abbreviation or uses Emmet abbreviation. So in a case or in a scenario where you are using an editor that is not using Emmet abbreviation, you need to type in the codes manually. And so what's the syntax? Link followed by an attribute called rel, okay, which basically talks about, okay, I see this attribute names the relationship of the linked documents to the current document. You can see that. So what's the relationship between this file I want to bring in here? It's a style sheet. And what does that mean? It's style, the look of my HTML. Now the next attribute is href. Now the href actually specify the link, the location of the file. Now, in this case, this file is in the same location with the index.html. It's in the same folder. Okay, so all I just need to do is type the name of the file, which is styles. And the beauty is, once you are in the correct location, the name pops up, as you can see, styles.css. So I click it up. But assuming I have this file in a different folder, I won't get that. I will have to do a proper file path in order to get that. Okay, so maybe in later on we're going to devote a class to looking at file paths in HTML or in web design, as the case may be. So again, let's look at this. You start by typing the link at, okay, the link element, followed by a rel attribute, and then an href. The href contains the location of the file. Remember to always include the extension .css. Now I'm going to hit save. The moment I hit save, you will notice something. My browser is refreshing. You can see the color of the browser has changed. Why? Let's go back to our styles.css. In my styles.css, I defined the body. I called the body element, which is the selector. Now I choose the property. I want to change the background color and I want to give it blue. Watch the syntax. First of all, the selector. Open your words, curly brackets, type in the property you want to change, and then give it a value. So I'm going to delete the whole of this. This is not what we want to work with, okay? And then let's save and we get back up. Now let's go back to the index and look at some of the elements we have there. We have the body element, the h1 element, the nav element. This is where we're looking at for the nav. Now, if I pick the nav elements, and let's go back, I'll call the nav. Open my curly brackets. Are you seeing that? Now, so you see what we're doing. The first thing we're going to change about this nav element is the background color. So I'm going to type background color, then hyphen color. The color is spelled as C-O-L-O-R, background color. And then you introduce a colon, and then you choose a color. For now, we're just going to go with the primary colors. Let's just type red. I'm going to type red. Later on, we'll get to see more about colors. Then always end with a semicolon, and then you save. Now let's see what happens. Now you notice this. Let me expand this window so you see. You can notice the whole of this part is taking a red color. Okay. Now this is how I can simply style my nav. But again, you were going to notice that, okay, when you look at a website, okay, yes, we've gotten the color of the nav bar, but then these items were not displaying in listed format or in bullets format. Rather, they are lined up side by side. Are you getting that? So how do I go about that? Okay, now still no worries. Let's go back to our index.html. Now in our index.html, now these items are actually defined by the word list element. Now before the list element, we have an unordered list. So what's the next thing I'm going to do? Go to your styles. Now call in the unordered list element, and then what do we do to it? I want to remove the bullet I have there. So what am I going to do? As a matter of fact, not even the unordered list, just go straight to the list element. Okay, now I want to remove the bullet I have there. So what do? I'm going to type list type, okay, list style. Are you seeing this? List style, and I'm going to set it to none. I'm going to set the value to none, and let's save. Now the moment I do that, you would notice something. Okay, let me expand it so you see. You notice something. What do you notice? The bullets are all gone. So how do I change that? The list style. All I need to do is call in my words, call in the list element in my CSS, and then choose the list style property and give it a value of none. But again, I don't want these items to be stacked. I want them to take an horizontal flow or position. So how do I go about that? Okay, how do I go about that? I'm going to choose the display, okay, property, And in the display property, I'm going to set it to inline block. Inline block. The moment I save, you notice this. I now have the elements arranged horizontally. But you're going to notice that, oh, my navigation bar looks tiny. It looks tiny compared to what we're having here. You can see the width of this is so much. So the width property controls that. So I can go back to my nav element or my nav selector and then include the height. Include the what? The height. Okay, so let's type height and then give it, let's do something, let's say 50 pixels, PS. I'm going to explain all of this when we begin our tutorial on CSS proper. Okay, once I do that, you notice something. Now you notice the height has increased. Now let me change it to 100. Okay, let's change it to 100 and let's see what happens. If I change it to 100, okay, let's see what happens. It becomes bigger. Now the beauty of CSS is there is no particular way to do or to style your documents. Okay, the beauty of CSS is, you know, you style it, you don't like the look, you can always change it. Unlike HTML, where there are certain things you just need to do. You have to follow a certain structure. CSS, it's like saying there are no rules. Okay, just do it as you like it, and then you understand that. All right, so this is how we can simply add color to the background of our navigation menu, as well as what, displaying the menu in horizontal form. So at this point, we're going to stop this class here for today. Okay, now let's quickly take a recap of what we've done. We actually started off by trying to create the menu or the nav component. Like I said, if we look at this site now, the first part of the site, you get to see the navigation component. Okay, all right, now that's what we try to do, and we use the nav elements to do that. Now the nav element is an HTML5 semantic element. Semantic means it gives meaning to your site. Now this enhances accessibility, okay, especially to those who depend on assistive technology. So it's very important when creating your website, you have that in mind. And then within the nav element, we have the unordered list, inside which we now have the list items, okay, where we now have the home, the about, and the that. Now this just gives a structure, a plain skeletal structure. And then we also learn how to use CSS, which stands for Cascading Style Sheet, to actually style this document. And in order to get our CSS to work, we need to link it into our HTML using the link element, okay, followed by a rel attribute and the href attribute. And then within the style.css file, I actually target the element in my HTML, okay? And when I call them, I set certain property to a particular value, and that's what initiates the changes, okay, that we get to see in our web page. That's what initiates the changes we get to see in our web page. All right, in our next class, we are now going to look at a proper introduction to CSS. We are also going to take our time to analyze HTML5 semantic structure and the elements, and then so that as we code and design our site, we actually get to employ this semantic structure for easy accessibility of our site. Until then, stay tuned for more videos. Don't forget to click the like button, and don't forget to subscribe if you've not, and always share our videos. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to put them in the comment section. All right, thank you so very much once again. I remain Joshua, a representative of CodeNet Solution.